031-208-1601. The Outreach Slice of Life campaign. Since its inception, our Slice of Life has touched the lives of countless individuals through our distribution to schools, old age homes, orphanages, and deserving families within our community. This initiative has been instrumental in alleviating hunger. For only 9 rand a loaf, you will be providing a family with their daily staple, bread. Donate now on www.alansar.org.za. or call Outreach on 031-208-1601.
The views and opinions expressed by the presenters and guests of Radio Al Ansar are not necessarily the views and opinions of Radio Al Ansar and the Al Ansar Foundation.
Tune in to the Feel Good Friday with Bibi Amina Phili.
It's finally Friday again. Assalamu alaikum.
From South Africa to the world.
Let's go.
Don't miss out on Friday afternoon vibes like no other. Put it on and leave it on. Join us for inspiration and positivity from trailblazing guests to topics you want to hear. Your Friday just got better. Let's make the end of the week better together. Feel Good Friday with Bibi Amina Phili. Young, fresh and trending.
Where do we go from here? Look up to the sky, so many shades of you. And I paint the day and night, the beauty of this life. A reflection of you and I, created in different nations and tribes, so we can unite. Hopping on these planes, got my people in all these places. Passport stamp running out of the pages. Linked up with my family, even though we ain't from the same side of the sea. Tribe different than them, we ain't got the same team. One body, one love, if you need it, I'll say one life, you take humanity. Let's
Of course, it's gone by a few minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock Central African time, wherever you are in the world, in your homes as well as in your cars. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you. Sanbunani noke ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum to you and yours. It's finally Friday again, so assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. You know, I always say that I love my Friday afternoons because I get to spend it with you. Well, Jim, Mubarak to you and yours, an exhilarating start to, of course, your weekend. It's 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 FM in Pietermaritzburg. If you, of course, do not have the app by now, you, of course, are missing out on all of the great stuff right here on your number one radio station, that being Radio Al Ansar. Now, on the show today, we have the honor and privilege to sit down with legal professional Aslam Moolla, and we discuss bullying in the workplace and how to legally protect your mental health in the workplace. Of course, we are excited to have that one with us. And later, we chat to special guest Naseema Mustapha, Master of International Tourism and Hospitality Management, a Bachelor of Business, PhD researcher in community tourism. And of course, we chat the unsettling truths, red dirt, red hearts, unpacking the complexities of tourism, identity, and the First Nations people. And of course, for the headlines this afternoon, we talk about the State of the Nation address, all that you need to know, summing up what we heard last night. And today's question of the day is, what are you doing in preparation for Ramadan? Well, Ramadan is around the corner. It would be nice to know what you are gearing up for this blessed month of Ramadan. You can let us know via our WhatsApp numbers. That's 0609041056. Well, all that and more right here for your listening pleasure.
This is the Feel Good Friday with Bibi Amina Phili, only on your number one radio station.
Absolutely. And because the clock strikes TikTok, it's now time for your traffic update.
Feel Good Friday, traffic updates. Updates that help you plan your day like a boss.
And on the line, we have Officer Ngwane. Officer Ngwane, tell us what's happening on our roads.
Feel Good Friday afternoon, everyone. We're looking at M4 at Wales. We've got an accident there. All relevant departments are on scene. Also, Mecca City, we've got accident. Robot Mega City, there is an accident that is taking place there. M4 from Athens, Wales. On a blind corner there, we've got a broken down truck. Please be cautious there. N2 northbound after Athens, Wales. We've got a broken down truck also on the left lane. You must make sure that you don't go behind that truck because the triangle it's missing somewhere somehow. We're looking at M19. We've got a truck that lost its load Pinetown bound. You can use alternative roads if you're coming from Macro. You can take a left turn as if you're going to Reservoir Hill. It will assist you to go to Pinetown. Other than that, it is raining. Let's keep the following distance. Just between you and the car that you are following, just 2 Mini Coopers, it will be fine. And we make sure we don't speed because it's raining, the road is slippery. Other than that, we've got ongoing road works. Let us make sure that with that one, we make sure that we follow the rules of the road. Have a lovely weekend. Let me say thank you very much for the time.
Good Friday. Big updates. Updates that help you plan your day like a boss.
This segment is brought to you by Kenfield Auto, your RMI approved service and repair specialist. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Kenfield Auto.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا إننا نخاف أن يفرط علينا أو أن يطغى.
Car won't start?
Kenfield Auto.
Noisy brakes?
Kenfield Auto.
Due for a service?
Kenfield Auto. Kenfield Auto, the answer to all your car problems. Your service and repair specialist for your VW, Audi, Suzuki, Toyota, or just about any vehicle. Kenfield Auto, your RMI and insurance approved workshop to handle them all. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Call us on 031 207 2399. Kenfield Auto.
Topic of the day.
Where do we go from here? Look up to the sky.
Well, of course, it's 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 FM in Pietermaritzburg. If you decided to click on the link, the StreamYard link, the streaming link, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, it is the Feel Good Friday with myself, Bibi Amina Phili, taking you from 2 up until 3 o'clock. A fantastic show, great lineup that we have today. Now, 2 amazing topics, but let's start with the first one, inshallah. Today, we're talking about workplace bullying. Now, breaking the silence, of course, in the modern workplace many individuals find themselves trapped in a situation they don't know how to escape. Now, they may be bullied at work, whether by management or even fellow colleagues. Today, we're joined by, of course, a legal professional, Aslam Moolla, to shed light on this critical issue on this fantastic Friday. Well, Aslam Moolla, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the Feel Good Friday.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having me, sister.
It's only a pleasure. Now, today's conversation is centered around bullying in the workplace and how to legally protect your mental health within the workplace. So, Brother Aslam, what are these subtle yet, damaging forms of bullying that often go unrecognized within the workplace? And how can employees and employers identify them?
Well, typically it takes the form of micromanagement, harassment, unfair treatment, delaying the paying of salaries. There's a whole bunch of different techniques. But the most common that I have seen is where employers go out of their way to make the employee's life difficult.
Absolutely. I do agree with you on that point. But I know we sometimes speak on strategies to overcome. What are the most effective strategies for employees to document and report workplace bullying? And what legal, protections can they leverage to ensure that their complaints are taken seriously?
So every employee has a right to work in an environment that is free from harm. Now, that harm could be physical harm or mental harm. If you are faced in this situation where your boss is making your life unbearable at work, they are nitpicking and everything, they are always complaining, they are always not happy with the work that you are producing, you do have rights. And labor law does come to the protection of an employee in that situation. The first thing that you need to do is get the evidence of that behavior. You can get that evidence either by screenshots, emails, phone recordings if you're a participant to it. These are the things that you will be very valuable later on at the CCMA. So step one is to get the evidence. Remember this, evidence wins cases. Evidence wins cases. If you don't have evidence, you can't win the case. Then step number 2 is to try and resolve the case internally first. That means speak to the manager or the person informally. Now, I know that it is scary to do this. You don't want to approach the bully. And you're worried about your job and, you're going to lose your income. But guess what? If you don't stand up for yourself, that behavior is just going to continue. So after you get the evidence, talk to the person. Listen, I don't appreciate this. Can you please stop doing this? Or I feel this way. Can you please not do this anymore? If they continue to do this, then you can take the next step by filing what is called a grievance. Now, a grievance is a formal complaint about the way that you are being treated at work. So think of it as giving the company a warning. Now, it is true you can be victimized because of doing this, but you are already being bullied. So what will be the difference? So step number 1, get the evidence. Number 2, talk to the person. If that doesn't work, then step number 3 would be to file a formal grievance.
Now, many feel that when they complain, perhaps nothing is being done. How can companies foster a culture of empathy, accountability, and zero tolerance for workplace bullying? And what policies and procedures should they implement to support these goals?
It's a very good question. It comes down to the simple understanding of humanity. I keep telling people, labor law is not as complicated as you think it is. All it is treat the person as you would like to be treated. In other words, if you promise you're going to pay someone on this date, pay them this date. If you owe them a bonus, pay them the bonus. Don't just force them to work overtime without paying them overtime, etc., etc. If you treat the person the way you would like to be treated, I promise you, you won't lose a case at CCMA. So it comes down to basic procedures. So, for example, I'm not saying all employees are innocent. I know some employees do some bad things and they deserve to be fired. But before you do that, have a hearing, talk to them, give them a chance to speak, give them a chance to explain. Don't just use your power in a very rough way. The best thing I can say, if you're a manager, if you're a business owner listening to this, you should be a leader in your actions, not necessarily your words. If you go around telling people no one will listen to you. If you follow with your actions, people will listen to you.
Absolutely. Now, what proactive measures can employers take to prevent workplace bullying, such as perhaps, training programs, diversity and inclusion initiatives, and performance management systems?
All that is well and good. In my experience, it still comes down to having a culture of fairness. That means before any decision is made in respect of an employee, if you are in a position of power, ask yourself, is that the fair and right decision? All the other stuff of training, going for courses, in my experience, people don't follow through. It is like sending someone to madrasa, but they don't want to read namaz. It must be a simple principle of, am I going to apply these things? And it's not hard. Treat the person as you would like to be treated.
Absolutely. Now, I know earlier on you spoke about CCMA. Now, when dealing with workplace bullying cases at CCMA, what are the key pieces of evidence and testimony that arbitrators, of course, consider when making rulings? And how can employees and employers prepare for these proceedings?
It's a very good question. So, if you have an employer who does not respect labor law in South Africa, you've tried to talk to them. They are doing a dirty on you. Your next best step is to go to the CCMA. Some people believe the CCMA is a corrupt. That's not true. Not all the commissioners are like that. In fact, most of the commissioners are honest, fair, and have integrity. So if you are faced with a situation, my best advice to you is get evidence of whatever you are going through. I already explained what evidence would be useful at the CCMA. Number 2, don't delay. If you have an issue that you are facing, there are time limits that you need to approach the CCMA. For example, if you are dismissed from work, you have 30 days to open up a case. If you are being treated unfairly at work, you have 90 days to open up a case. So don't let the time escape you. Now you can fill in the CCMA form on the CCMA website, and it is a free process. You don't pay for that. I've got tons and tons of videos on TikTok, YouTube, on how to fill in the form, how to prepare your opening statement. Just go onto any social media, type in CCMA or legal leaders, and you'll find all our videos there.
Absolutely. I think everybody should do that as well. But looking forward, Brother Aslam, what do you believe are the key steps that organizations, policymakers, and even individuals can take to prevent workplace bullying and promote a healthier work environment where it's not toxic?
It's becoming more and more prevalent today. People are abusing their positions and they need to be called out on it. The best way to do that, get the evidence and sue them at the CCMA. I know you are scared, but the only way to stop the bullying, like on the school ground, is to punch the bully back. Now, you will do it in a legal way by going to the CCMA. And sometimes your voice will protect others going through the same thing at work. And if many people are being bullied, you can do a collective grievance. All the employees can sign. But if you do nothing, I promise you, the situation will not change.
Absolutely. The situation indeed will not change. Well, brother, Jazakallah so much for joining me today, inshallah. Hoping we can get you in future, because there is so much to debunk and so much to talk about when it comes to the workplace. But nevertheless, Jazakallah so much for joining us and taking up your time today.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to talking about more topics. Let's empower over 1 million employees.
All right, inshallah, ameen. Of course, it's 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 FM in Pietermaritzburg. Just gone by a few minutes past 3. Well, going for 2 minutes, a few minutes past 3 as well. And don't go anywhere. We have, of course, an amazing guest that's joining us today. Well, it's 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 FM. It is the Feel Good Friday. Don't go anywhere.
Of the day. This is the Feel Good Friday with Bibi Amina Phili, only on your number one radio station.
Enjoy unforgettable deals only at Checkstar. Get your Fatima Samosa per 800 grams for 67 Rand 99, or your Pastry Delight Mini Garlic Naan intense for 32 Rand 99. Checkstar, Overport or Mount Edgecombe for everything you need this Ramadan.
They convinced the world to believe that terrorists look like beards and thobes. Now, as the facade cracks, one martyr after another, the world sees through the broken windows and now knows the true face of terrorism. It wears suits and ties and smiles behind lies.
اللهم احفظ المسجد الأقصى من اليهود الحاقدين. اللهم أعد المسجد الأقصى إلى رحاب المسلمين. اللهم وطهر المسجد الأقصى من اليهود الغاصبين. اللهم عليك بهم فإنهم لا يعجزونك يا قوي يا متين. اللهم منزل الكتاب مجري السحاب هازم الأحزاب سريع الحساب اهزم اليهود وزلزلهم يا قوي يا عزيز.
This is the Feel Good Friday with Bibi Amina Phili, only on your number one radio station.
زينت السماء وضعت الجبال أمرت البحار وخلقت الجنان سيرت الكواكب أضأت النجوم أجرت الأنهار فأرحت القلوب وللعباد أنزلت الإسلام وللهداية أنزلت القرآن وبالسلام أرسلت الأنبياء من الضلال إلى الضياء سألت حين رفعت يدي عن رحمة وسعت كل شيء في مغفرة لكنني بما قضيت إن شئت قلت كن فيكون وسعت كل الأمور أنت الكريم وأنت الرحيم أنت السلام وأنت السميع. Majestic and mighty, the King of the worlds, the Lord of creations and the heavens above. You're closer to me than my jugular vein. You answer my prayers when I'm hurt and in pain. And in return for worship and love, you give eternal peace beyond earth. And all around, you see all your signs. Hear every prayer, so here's mine.
And of course, it's 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 FM. Of course, it is the Feel Good Friday, your show of choice this Friday afternoon. Gone by a few minutes past the hour of course, 2 o'clock. Soon we're going to be saying Assalamu alaikum to you. But making our headlines this afternoon is, of course, the SONA. Yes, the State of the Nation address. Now, SONA 2025 in a nutshell. I'm not going to give you everything because you'll have to go onto our website to read absolutely everything the president said yesterday. But of course, President Cyril Ramaphosa delivered his State of the Nation address, SONA, outlining major plans to drive South Africa's economic growth, improve infrastructure, and enhance social welfare programs. Now, the key announcements included a significant infrastructure investment, the rollout of a digital ID system, and commitments to the National Health Insurance NHI scheme, a basic income grants, the BIG, and 100 billion Black Economic Empowerment Fund. Now, a key focus, of course, on Ramaphosa's address was economic growth for the country, with the president setting a 3% GDP growth target. However, many argue, but economists predict a more conservative growth rate between 1.4 to 2%, depending on the success of the infrastructure rollouts. Of course, you can send us your WhatsApp messages via our WhatsApp numbers. That's 0609041056. Of course, we'd love to hear, what did you think about the State of the Nation address? Tell us right now on our WhatsApp numbers, 0609041056. Of course, right here on Radio Al Ansar, 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 FM in Peter Maritzburg. Well, up next, we have a fantastic guest, and she goes by the name of Naseema Mustapha. Hoping that she'll be able to hear us, hoping she can hear us right now, and hoping that we, of course, can get through with the interview for this particular afternoon. If you're listening to us, welcome, and thank you for keeping us company on our Facebook.
Don't have lots of money. Sometimes it can be scary. I don't seem to worry, 'cause I got something better though. Don't need a fancy car. Life's broken me down with scars. On my back I just count the stars, but I'm holding on, yeah. Cloudy storms and winter rain. Sometimes I just feel this pain. I need better days. You give me brighter days. He gives me reason and hope. He gives belief so I can cope. He is always here. He is always near. That's why I say I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I'll be just fine this way. With Allah, I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
And of course, welcome back to the Feel Good Friday. Now, today we're embarking on a journey to explore the untold stories of tourism and its impact of the First Nations peoples. Now, joining me, of course, is the incredible Naseema Mustapha, a renowned expert in the community of tourism. Together, of course, we'll venture into the complexities of tourism, identity, and the First Nations peoples in a thought-provoking conversation titled Unsettling Truths, Red Dirt, Red Hearts, getting ready. So, of course, let's uncover the truth and challenge your perspectives and gain a deeper understanding of the intricate relationship between tourism, culture, and, of course, identity. Welcoming to the Feel Good Friday, of course, is Naseema Mustapha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Well, I think you have to unmute yourself, darling, so we can hear your beautiful voice, inshallah. I mean, well, whilst she gets that unmute button, let's welcome her again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Naseema, and welcome to the Feel Good Friday.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's only a pleasure. Now, before the internet starts doing its thing, let's just get straight into the conversation for this particular afternoon, Sister Naseema. Can you share a personal experience or story that illustrates, the complex relationship between tourism, culture, and identity, particularly in the context of the First Nations peoples? Oh, she can't hear me, but I can hear you. Loud and clear. Perhaps let's try getting her on a WhatsApp line and then we'll take it from there. Well, you're listening to us. It is the Feel Good Friday right here for your listening pleasure. It's 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6. Should we continue? Should we continue? Well, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Naseema.
On here.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So let's start that again. We welcome you, of course, to the Feel Good Friday. Today, we, of course, embarking on a journey to explore the untold stories of tourism and its impact on the First Nations peoples. Now, joining me is, the incredible Naseema Mustapha, a renowned expert in the community tourism. Together, of course, we will venture in the complexities of tourism, identity, as well as the First Nations people in a thought-provoking conversation titled Unsettling Truths, Red Dirt, Red Hearts. Now, so get ready and let's uncover the truth, challenges, and the perspectives, and gain a deeper understanding of the intricate relationship between tourism, culture, and identity. So welcome again to the Feel Good Friday, Sister Naseema Mustapha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam, sister. Thank you for having me.
It is only a pleasure. Finally, I said let's start before the internet starts doing its thing. Let's get straight into the interview for this particular afternoon. Now, Sister Naseema, please can you share a personal experience or story that illustrates the complex relationship between tourism, culture, and identity, particularly in the context of the First Nations peoples?
I would really appreciate if I could speak on what sustainable tourism is. A lot of people don't know what sustainable tourism is, and that will just create a greater understanding for our conversation that goes forward. And also just to create a bit of a snapshot of how important tourism is to South Africa. So tourism contributes to 8.6% of South Africa's economy and provides 9.2% of total employment in this country, which is almost 3 million employees. South Africa has 12 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. International tourist arrivals in 2024 were 8.92 million. That's an increase from the previous year. And I was quite surprised to find out that Gauteng province contributes to the most international tourists in tourism dollars and bed nights, and Mpumalanga comes next. There was always this understanding that Western Cape or Cape Town draws the most tourists, but that's not the case. So the principles of sustainable tourism, as you're showing this video, I'm going to explain what this video is about so people know what this is. The video being shown is on a recent gathering of First Nations people in Australia on 26th of January. It's an annual event that rejects the date of colonial occupation as Australia Day. Australia is the only country in the world that celebrates a day of genocide and massacre as their national day. The video goes on to show Indigenous tourism initiatives and my close friends in the First Nations community. So just continuing on with the principles of sustainable tourism, it requires a balance between environmental, economic, and social sustainability. We aim to impact on destinations in a positive way and reduce the negative impact. An example, as you requested, is providing stable employment and income for local communities to contribute to poverty alleviation and ensure ongoing long-term economic operations in the way of small and medium-sized businesses within the service, tourism, and hospitality industries. Socially, we respect the socio-cultural authenticity of local communities. We aim to conserve their cultural heritage and their traditional values, to contribute to intercultural understanding, appreciation, and tolerance. We aim to provide positive experiences for both visitors and the hosts. The link between culture, tourism, and First Nations cultures often form the main attractions for tourists wanting an authentic cultural experience. So I'm going to take you through one of the most wonderful experiences that I've had. An example of this is on the east coast of Australia in the Daintree rainforest. The Daintree rainforest is the oldest tropical rainforest on Earth. It is UNESCO World Heritage listed. The Daintree rainforest incorporates community development, education for tourists, formal tertiary education for its First Nations communities, tourism experiences, and conservation. Some of the experiences include guided walks by First Nations locals who teach about the flora and fauna. The Daintree has 430 species of birds and 12,000 insect species. So they teach about the traditional use of plants for food and medicine in their daily life. Other things that one can do are bird watching tours. You can do river cruises, you can zip line, night tours. Then you can go up to Cape Tribulation where the rainforest meets the Great Barrier Reef. There's also the Mothman Gorge and the Daintree Discovery Center, which allows tourists a deeper understanding of how the rainforest emerged and the conservation efforts and what tourists can do to maintain it and to improve it. So that was definitely one of my best experiences from an educational perspective.
Absolutely wonderful indeed. Now, what role do you believe community-led tourism initiatives can play in promoting cultural awareness, understanding, and reconciliation?
I would really like to speak about my own personal growth and character development through travel. I started traveling independently when I was 21 years old. I've been very fortunate, very blessed, alhamdulillah, to travel to 41 countries. And in all the countries that I travel to, I always try to engage mostly with locals. So trying to stay in local properties, locally owned accommodation, go to local restaurants, go eat where the locals eat, always ask them where they are. And in doing this, I've been able to have beautiful experiences in Australia, Thailand, India, and Indonesia, as well as throughout Africa. And I would say that what it has done, it has allowed me to really appreciate other people's cultures and to respect the different values that emerge. But it has also allowed me as a person to choose to adopt those cultures, or rather to adopt the values, because in each of our cultures we have incredibly beautiful things, but we also have some things which are not so beautiful. So by traveling and immersing yourself in this kind of tourism, one is able to say, okay, well, I really love this about this country that I went to, and I've learned all these beautiful values, and I'd like to implement them into my own lifestyle. And alhamdulillah, I've been able to do that. So I would say that tourism and travel, especially if it's done on a community level and in a sustainable way, it can really, really enhance your character development.
Absolutely. But what role do you think, education and awareness, raising play in promoting greater understanding and respect for the First Nations people's cultures as well as their traditions?
I think I've touched on a lot of that already, but I would like to just reinforce that whenever we travel somewhere, there are always the First Nations people of that particular country or that destination. And I think it's really important before leaving for a destination to do a little bit of research to learn about the local tribes that existed in that area before colonization or before mass tourism impact, and understand a little bit about that. Because in doing that little bit of research and reading before you travel, when you actually get to the destination, it's a whole different understanding and a different experience for somebody. And I really noticed that during my travels through Thailand in particular, where I've traveled to many different parts of Thailand, and each part has got, different indigenous tribe, for example, depending on which bordering country they are. So, and the cuisine is different and everything's different. And just by doing a little bit of research before going there and understanding that you cannot just say Thai people, there are, even though there may be Thai people who look similar in their facial features, the indigenous tribes and their values and their dressing, their food and everything is so different. So I think that that's really important to be able to have a greater appreciation and also to not offend the indigenous people of that land.
Absolutely. Now, can you share some practical tips or advice for tourists or travelers who want to engage with First Nations peoples, cultures, and in a respectful and meaningful way?
Sure. A lot of the things that I've mentioned already, we're basically learning about them first, understanding what the etiquette is, the cultural etiquette, understanding what is acceptable and not acceptable. That's really important. And a little bit further on, I'll speak about a couple of examples of what I've experienced through my travels and how that can be improved.
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
So I'll talk a little bit about the downsides of tourism, and these are ongoing downsides and how we can change them, especially as people who love to travel. So I'll give you an example. My recent trip to Cape Town, I spent a lot of time in Bo-Kaap. There's overcrowding and gentrification in Bo-Kaap, which also leads to the degradation of the local culture, which causes pollution and changes to local customs. It's become quite uncomfortable for the local people in Bo-Kaap. There's way too many tourists. It's very crowded. There's a traffic congestion issue. There's overpriced accommodation. The cost of properties have gone up tremendously, sort of kind of pushing the local people out. And that's a typical example of gentrification and overcrowding due to tourism. Then an example of environmental degradation I saw when I was in Thailand. I attended a beautiful place called James Bond Island, and the island had to be shut down for a number of years to allow for nature to generate itself with the aid of, planting coral and harvesting coral. They now allow tourists back, but they have a daily maximum quota so that this environmental impact does not happen again. There's also the exploitation of the labor force and low wages. There's child labor and inflated pricing of food, services, and accommodation. Again, as I've mentioned, I saw it recently in Cape Town. Community-led tourism supports local businesses, especially if you stay in locally owned accommodation, not foreign-owned hotel chains. If you eat at local restaurants, if you hire local guides, buying souvenirs that are made in South Africa, not made elsewhere, participating in community-based experiences that benefit the local community. By reading up on the local culture and customs before we travel, like I said, and asking questions about the impact of tourism in the local area, we can make choices that are better and act in more appropriate ways. So one of the examples that I'd really like to share with you is when I went to Zanzibar. Zanzibar is on the East African coast. It has a unique fusion of cultures and identity. Due to its spice trade, its tragic slavery history, colonization by the Portuguese, then the British, and then the Omani Arabs. It has a conservative Islamic culture and traditions amongst the Swahili people. Mass tourism has done much damage to Zanzibar since the late 70s. We are now in the era of sustainable tourism, having to undo the damage caused by mass tourism. When one travels to Zanzibar, inform yourself beforehand about the cultural etiquette. Dress modestly, adhere to their rules on entering the village with full attire. Eat Swahili food instead of eating American and European food. This way, you also appreciate the cultural heritage behind the food and what makes it unique.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And I hope one day we get to visit Zanzibar. I heard it's beautiful. The food, the culture, the people. So you heard it here. When you're going to Zanzibar, when you're going to any other place, try to try the local food so you can get the true experience of the environment and the place, of course, that you are visiting. Well, Sister Naseema, Jazakallah so much for joining me today. I think that's all we have time for today. Hoping that you can, of course, come through again on the Feel Good Friday. We can chat a little bit more about tourism and get a little bit more in depth with the different topics that of course you would come up with, inshallah. Well, of course, she ran away. I think her internet, I said let's do things before the internet starts. And the internet, of course, had started. Well, that was Sister Naseema Mustapha, of course, an amazing individual. It's 90.4 FM in Durban and 105.6 FM in Pietermaritzburg. Let's go for a short ad break. And inshallah, we're going to be talking about the question for the day. Now, the question for the day that I have for you is, what are you doing in preparation for Ramadan? It, of course, is a Feel Good Friday right here for your listening pleasure.
This is the Feel Good Friday with Bibi Amina Phili, only on your number one radio station.
Under the stars, I raise my hands in prayer. Tears falling, carrying my despair. Your memories linger, they fill my heart with grace. In every shadow.
So the question for the day is, what are you doing in preparation for Ramadan? Of course, you can send us your messages via our WhatsApp numbers. That's 0609041056. Me personally, what am I doing in preparation for Ramadan is just making more dhikr, opening my Quran, trying to fast Monday and Thursdays, just of course train yourself. Alhamdulillah, I mean, you should be fasting Monday and Thursdays. So just doing the little things, preparing a little corner. I call it my meditation corner, where you would be going every day in the month of Ramadan just to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it is you read Taraweeh or whatever it is that you do. Create a small space in your house so you can, that can be your escape. Even if you don't go to the masjid, that will be the space that you go to, that of course you go no shoes, just be your personal favorite space. But of course, I sent this message out to my friends and my dear colleagues as well. So they had, of course, this to say about what they are doing for this beautiful month of Ramadan in preparation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Muhammad Tawfiq, and I have started preparing myself for Ramadan by making sure that my door is solid. Inshallah, we'll be reading 1.5 to 2 paras a night. And it's quite interesting, kind of exciting that we're going to be doing this for the first time. And inshallah, I hope the listeners that are there are going to make dua for us, that it's a success. Inshallah, Allah make it easy for all of us. And also on a lighter note, I have been nagging my mommy to make the pies and samosas for Ramadan. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey Beebs, so the Al-Ansar Outreach, we do have an exciting and impactful lineup of initiatives planned for Ramadan. As many of the listeners know, this is one of our most significant times of the year for us, as we focus on so many projects like our Ramadan and Eid feeding, where we distribute clothes, food, water, dates. I think everything you could think of at Al-Ansar, we're doing it. So if the listeners would like to know more about how they can get involved to support our efforts, be sure to follow us on social media or stay tuned in on Radio Al-Ansar for updates.
So you heard it from two individuals as to exactly what they're getting up to for this preparation for this beautiful month of Ramadan. Just to read a few messages that came through here. It says, Assalamu alaikum, Bibi Amina. I have started rereading the Quran to refresh my memory and heart. Can't wait for Ramadan. And that's from Sister Aisha. The message coming through here says, Hi Bibi, I've begun planning my suhoor and iftar meals in advance so I can focus on my ibadah during the month of Ramadan. Any recipe suggestions? That's from Brother Ali. Another message coming through here. It says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa Bibi Amina Phili. I've started cutting back on social media to minimize distractions and focus on my spiritual growth. Anyone else feeling or doing the same? That's from Sister Fatima. Another message coming through here. It says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Bibi Amina. I've rolled in an online course to learn more about the history and significance of Ramadan. Highly recommended. And that is from Brother Umar. Another message coming through here. It says, Assalamu alaikum, Bibi Amina. I've started setting aside a portion of my zakat to donate to those in need during the month of Ramadan, as we always do, spreading kindness. That is from Sister Jamila. And of course, we have come to the end of yet another amazing edition of the Feel Good Friday. If you missed out, of course, you can check it out on Spotify or you can rewatch it back on Facebook. Inshallah, Ameen. Thank you for allowing me to keep you company for these amazing hours. A big shukran. Thanks to my, I would say, she's not a producer anymore. She's not my tech. She's my sister, Tabega Angel in Japa, of course, making sure that I sound crystal clear and all the videos and all the production behind it. Kudos to her. I think she deserves a round of applause. All the flowers. Well, of course, it's come to an end. Don't forget, you can join me same time next week, same place. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Tune in to the Feel Good Friday with Bibi Amina Phili.
It's finally Friday again. Assalamu alaikum.
From South